Hello and welcome to another edition of Points of Interest with host Joey Traina and Demetrius Minor. We're going to carry you through another 30-minute episode today, and we're going to talk about some national, talk about some local. Keep the conversation going online. Find us on Facebook, Points of Interest. Demetrius, what's going on, man?
Well, Joey, I don't know if you witnessed it, but this past weekend we had not one but two GOP debates. That brings it to a grand total of 1,724 debates.
Don't hold us to that number. We'll have to fact check.
It definitely feels that way.
Yeah.
There were two debates in New Hampshire. The next primary will be Tuesday, January the 3rd. The New Hampshire primary.
I wonder how viewership was. I mean, I remember we talked about, the beginning debates,
right.
pretty, in some detail. It seems like our own, judgment of these debates has waned. I'm thinking, people are probably tired of them too. It's kind of like.
Well, unless you're like political junkies like us,
I'd rather watch
like news people. But the interesting thing about Saturday's debate was that the same time as that debate was a playoff game between the Lions and the Saints. So it depends on what intrigued people more. Now, Sunday's debate was Meet the Press, which is hosted by David Gregory, and it was Sunday at 9 o'clock a.m. Now, what the mainstream media doesn't know is that, we Republicans, we are, we're church-going people. We like to go to worship on Sunday mornings. So that was what we call
They don't know this?
It was a pagan debate. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait. I go to church and I watch Meet the Press all the time because it's over by the time I go to church.
It's a joke. It's a joke. But
This guy is always talking about the mainstream media. What do you got? Like 2 radio shows and you got this thing? You're trying to mainstream it yourself, man. Okay.
But yeah, we had 2 debates.
Mark my words. You'll be watching Demetrius Minor on NBC 10 o'clock Sunday mornings.
MSNBC, yeah, they need a conservative voice there.
Hey,
but anyways, you had 2 debates. And of course now because Mitt Romney is the clear front runner. And now it was funny to see the quote-unquote anti-Mitt alliance,
right.
Especially during Sunday's debate. Mitt got hammered pretty hard. You had Rick Santorum, the senator of Pennsylvania, coming fresh off his victory from the Iowa caucus. Tell Mitt, well, Mitt, if your record was so good as governor of Massachusetts, how come you didn't run for re-election? If you want to invest so much into the constituents of Massachusetts, why didn't you run on your record? And then you had Newt Gingrich, Speaker Gingrich said, and this I think is the line of the week, let's cut the pious bologna. Food of the week, pious bologna. He told me, he said, let's cut the pious bologna here.
What kind of spread do you put on pious bologna? Okay.
Mayonnaise.
Go ahead.
He said, well, you ran to the left of Ted Kennedy. All your life you've been running for running for office.
Right.
You lost to John McCain. You lost to Ted Kennedy, electability. He says, so because Mitt Romney always talks about his life and his career in the private sector. And Newt says, well, let's be candid here. You ran for public office your whole life. That's the only reason why you're not a lifetime politician is because you've lost.
Yeah.
So you did see a lot of them, go after Romney. You saw Governor Huntsman go after Romney. In the first debate, Mitt Romney attacked John Huntsman for serving under Barack Obama, his ambassador to China. Huntsman's reply, and I have to agree with Governor Huntsman here, it's about putting your country first and about serving, even if it's a Democratic president. He says, my sons are in the military, and their commander-in-chief is a Democratic president.
Right.
And he said, Mitt, it's attitudes like that turn voters off. So you saw a lot of candidates spur after Mitt, and you're going to see that a lot more. It's going to get aggressive.
Sure.
The gloves are about to come off. It's going to be Tyson versus Holyfield.
Yeah.
So
well, and
get ready.
You guys will see this after the primary has been held, but we're taping on a Monday, and so we don't know yet what's happening. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, New Hampshire, that's Mitt Romney's backyard. He was governor of Massachusetts, so he has that Northeastern alliance going on there. Mitt Romney will most likely win New Hampshire, but the question is, what's the margin?
Yeah.
My opinion, he has to win New Hampshire substantially. Preferably 15 to 20-point margin. If he wins New Hampshire by 10% or less, it's a victory, but more of a moral victory for whoever that second place winner is. So.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. And then after that, South Carolina.
South
Right?
Carolina. Now,
So-
that's the real test.
Yeah, that's the
Because
big one. South Carolina
it
determines a lot of,
elects
a lot of
presidents.
primaries. Yeah, and
That's
primaries,
a true. South Carolina is a conservative battlefield. New Hampshire is not a conservative state. South Carolina, you have more conservative, more Republicans registered, and if Mitt Romney wins South Carolina, then he validates his case as the 2012 GOP nominee.
But that's
If he-
not what you're not thinking that way. What
I
do you
don't think he's going to
Okay.
win South Carolina. Let's just be candid here. If he wins South Carolina, political pundits like us, we get bored. Because then he goes on, he has a 12-point lead in Florida, and I think he just sweeps through the states.
Okay.
But if another candidate wins South Carolina, possibly a Newt Gingrich or Rick Perry. Rick Perry could do well. Rick Santorum is surging in South Carolina. He can do relatively well.
Okay.
If somebody else wins South Carolina, then it slightly changes the political landscape. A lot of people think that this nomination is going to be wrapped up by Super Tuesday. I'm not so sure about that. I think it's going to be a drawn-out battle,
Right.
and it's
Now
going to take
on
some
that,
time.
I mean, the numbers are so close from what we've seen. It's still up in the air. So whether there's going to be a landslide or it's going to be close, we'll know tomorrow night. Again, speaking from Monday.
Well, remember this. Now
but-
remember this.
Yeah.
4 years ago, 2008, Huckabee had a 7-point lead in South Carolina. Now, just to refresh the memory of our audience here, Huckabee won the Iowa caucus. But John McCain went on to win the New Hampshire primary. After John McCain's win in New Hampshire, then the GOP base, the establishment, a lot of voters turned to John McCain and said, well, look, he probably has a more realistic
Right.
shot at being the nominee.
And in 08,
and he
it
went
really
on to
was-
win South Carolina.
Yeah, in 08,
So-
I mean, it really was the question of electability early on and throughout until they had their candidate.
Right.
Now it's also about electability, but Mitt Romney's problem with electability is Republicans don't know if they want to elect him.
Well,
you know,
since 2006,
you being one of them.
since 2007, Mitt Romney has been stuck at like a 22 to 25% favorability rating, and he has been stuck at that. I mean, even Barry Goldwater was at 30%. So, that's relatively speaking, 70 to 75% of the base does not like Mitt Romney,
Right.
and that's a problem.
Sure.
And
Absolutely,
it shows a lot of weakness on the front.
Which is great for me. I think weakness on your side, fantastic. I'd love to hear more about it.
Well, your
and-
candidate's not necessarily standing on a gold mine, but
Hey,
right now,
it's not a gold mine, but we're standing taller
well,
and
and
we're
I
trying
will
to move
say
the country in the right
I
direction.
will say
so-
this: as long as there's infighting on the GOP, of course, during the primary, it slightly favors the incumbent. But once the nominee, whoever the nominee is, then the real battle.
Well, doesn't it show you? I mean, I think once whoever it is, let's say it's Mitt Romney.
Well, the Democrats are already attacking Mitt Romney. Barack Obama's campaigners are constantly sending out emails, constantly having ads that is solely focused on Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
So so that indicates to me that the message is that even the Democrats believe that Mitt Romney is the
absolutely.
inevitable nominee
Sure.
to them because they're not attacking
Well, hey, I'm right
any other
here.
candidate.
I'll explain it to you. It doesn't look and the other thing is, I'm not really worried about anybody else. Anyone else on their best day seems so out there, so beyond, so extreme to the left and to much of the center or center left that there really is no point in running an ad on, say, a Santorum, okay, or even a Ron Paul. And so we're going to go for the guy who seems to be the politician to run against, but also the guy that I think it's a conundrum for Democrats because there aren't enough GOP candidates worth running against at this point. If you see ads coming out about Romney, it's just because we're getting ready. We're just pre-gaming it, getting ready for the real fight that's going to be going down.
Oh, we'll see how it goes.
But I think when you have such division, I think back to 08 when it was basically Hillary, Obama, and the Hillary supporters were were just religious about the Hillary support, and the Obama supporters were similarly religious about the Obama support. But when it was decided that Obama was going to be the guy, it was just like that. We all went in because we all knew the message, the vision, the purpose was so important.
And then that's the difference. And that's the difference between the Republican
it's
side.
not clear that that's going to happen.
Because there is no indication whatsoever that the Tea Party, that the conservative base will 100% support
You've got
Mitt Romney.
Nikki Haley here, who's gone in for Mitt Romney, and now her Tea Party supporters are not too happy.
I want to tell you what voters have told me, conservative voters. If Mitt Romney's the nominee, people have said, A, yeah, we'll vote for him, but we're not going to actively support him. Okay? B, they're not going to vote at all.
Wow.
Now, that's just conservative base. I've talked to independents, people, of course, who are not aligned with a political party, who says that if it's Romney versus Obama, they don't like either one of them, they're not going to vote at all. Romney does not excite the base. Romney does not excite the Tea Party
and others
movement.
Scare the base away.
There is a split, there is a divide, and I would agree with you. As of right now, I do not think Romney can beat Obama. So, but I mean, we'll see.
You heard it here, guys.
I mean, who am I? I don't get paid to be a Fox News contributor.
Not yet. You'll get there, big guy.
What else is
Keep
going on?
Keep fighting the good fight. Well, so we got the New Hampshire primary. I guess we can maybe turn it in to more local news. Actually, no. Before we do that, there was something we saw just the other day on with Christie had there was a heckler in the audience who said Christie kills jobs, and we kind of had a little brief discussion about who's to blame, I guess, with the jobs thing, because this woman blamed Christie, and then Christie sort of took it to Obama, and I don't know. I think the conversation is incomplete there. I don't fully agree with the woman who heckled Christie at this function, Republican function. I don't see much point.
Christie, governor of New Jersey, also a surrogate for presidential candidate Mitt Romney and possible VIP.
So she says Christie kills jobs, and I think Jersey's not doing too bad, but it's a much bluer state than I think a lot of people give it credit for, especially with Governor Christie in office.
Well, right, it is a blue state. They elected a Republican governor in a blue state. And our viewers may not know this, but former governor John Corzine, actually some under investigation right now for MF Global and a lot of corruption there.
Jersey politics, right?
Well, and actually he was under consideration to be Secretary of Treasury, which doesn't blow my mind. But Christie is an attack dog. He's someone like, for the conservative, one who will go after Obama, who will attack his policies, who will attack his positions. And so I'm not. And
he's one that for his credit, he can articulate.
Yeah, he can.
his arguments pretty well.
And with Romney, and
so I appreciate him.
I'm not a surrogate for Romney, but it's good for Romney to have somebody in his camp. Right. Christie can go out there and say the things that Romney can't say. Christie can go out there and be more aggressive. Now, Mitt Romney does attack Barack Obama, but Christie can attack Barack Obama
from the periphery.
Right.
So what he does is turn it around on her and say, if you want to be mad at anybody, he calls her sweetheart. You need to be mad at Obama. And again, I think when we try to condense these arguments of why jobs are low or unemployment's high or the economy is the way it is, I think we really miss it when we try to blame the governor of a state or the president of the country. The economic problems were began far before Obama and Christie.
I mean, we know that, but
I think it does a disservice to the public who needs to know about how we can actually change things. When blame this guy, blame this guy. I don't know, and they're not going to talk about that. To agree with you, you're always coming down on the mainstream media, which I think is, they're corporate. That's what it is. They're not going to your credit, they're not going to get into the, into the real reason. They're not going to really try to tear into this, the economy being the way it is, or who to blame, or who's to fault. If they were, they could have come out with some, some good things in the past.
Well, I can always refer back to Vice President Joe Biden. Always having his foot in mouth. I know you guys love him on your side. Let Joe Biden say, look, we own the economy's ours. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the chair of the Democratic National Committee. Says,
well, I think what you're saying is it's in our hands now.
Right, it's in your hands.
It's in our hands. And since it's been in our hands, unemployment's fell, jobs are rising.
Why are we on that subject?
We're getting healthier. Absolutely, the economy still has a bad cold.
But the philosophy of the Democrats and the left is that unemployment has to be so high. Oh, but guess what? It's dropping.
Democrats think unemployment is
Look, it's dropping, but it's still high. The private sector is still hurting.
And you don't think you just said Democrats think that unemployment should be high?
That's their philosophy. Oh, it's high, but it's not as high as it used to be.
Where are you getting this?
That's the spin that they're listen, let me tell you.
There are a lot of Democrats who want 100% employment in this country, but that doesn't get anywhere because we're constantly having to fight back, Republican assault and corporate welfare.
Okay. Look, once again,
feeds right into
let me tell you what this president did. This president, he came in. This president has been an absolute disaster for American jobs. He came in, and instead of focusing on jobs,
you're taking the blame Obama argument here.
I will go and say, since this makes you guys happy,
he's a disaster.
that
it was
Obama,
a much bigger disaster
when
than
he
before
came,
Obama.
Yeah, when Obama came, yes, he inherited a mess. Okay, but he made it worse. Okay,
That's
he didn't make it better
at all, man. You got to look at the graphs. I'm going to put these post. I'm going to post these graphs on Facebook. You can try and give me your evidence.
How much the debt has been? How much the debt has been?
The debt was incredibly influenced by military spending.
The deficit
was
under
begun
Obama.
Before Obama.
Yeah, but no, this president spent more money than the previous presidents combined. You don't tell me that's disastrous.
No, the Congress is right now. It's run in a way that you put things on a credit card. When Democrats are in charge of the House and the Senate, we pay through debit. That means if you have the money, you spend it. Okay, yeah, we spend a lot, but that means we have it first.
Okay.
So as long as the Republicans have had power.
They've only had power
when they write legislation.
What about when the Democrats
I'll
had
put it on the
power?
thing. I can't condense all
What about
this,
when the Democrats had power?
Yeah.
For Senate.
Okay.
Nothing got done.
How did Bill Clinton get a surplus? Because the way you
he had a fiscal control Congress. Let's be real here. No,
because they paid for things on a debit card as opposed to a credit card, which is how we've run the prescription drug program through Bush and the two wars
you had a fiscally Republican-controlled Congress who effectively worked with a moderate president. Okay? When Bill Clinton was president, Bill Clinton was to the far left. Okay? After the Republican Revolution, when Republicans took control of the Congress, Bill Clinton was in there. Bill Clinton was politically smart enough to move towards the center, and you got some legislation done. Barack Obama has not done that. When Barack Obama was elected president, he rushed Obamacare. Polls show that over 52%, that's half the country, do not want Obamacare. They want it repealed.
You're talking about a poll, first of all. You're talking about 52%, as opposed to
he did not focus on jobs.
Polls have
I've talked to Democratic strategists who says that now that they believe that he is focusing on jobs, too late. So. But, I mean, we'll see how it all plays out.
That's fantastic because I don't know when the Republicans have ever really tried to tackle jobs.
The jobs bills that the Republicans have proposed.
The jobs of the top percent.
The jobs bill that the Republicans have proposed have been shut down by Harry Reid in the Democratic Senate.
They aren't real jobs bills, man. I'm sorry.
How
come? Because no one's ever heard of these jobs bills. Republicans don't make jobs bills. They don't make jobs.
I just told you. They make
it easier for top-tier companies to make more money.
I just told you. That's bills that will propose economic jobs have been shut down by Harry Reid in the Democratic
because
Senate.
They always have these things in there about deregulation, or they always have these tax incentives for people that aren't going to benefit people writ large. It's not going to impact jobs numbers.
Okay.
But what we have seen is that jobs numbers are going up and employment's going down.
And we talked about this off the air.
You won't concede that, but that's fine.
Because retail work, let me tell you something. Retail work has showed that a lot of people, hired for seasonal help, which is not uncommon.
Private and public.
Which is not uncommon. Unemployment rate is still 8.5%.
Yeah, it's terrible. We got to do something about that. Tell Republicans to help us out, man. I'm telling you, because they got to stop. They got to stop caring about these CEOs and everything, and start worrying about corporate welfare, which is the process of the government paying private corporations.
Wall Street contributes to Obama's campaign. All these executives.
Man, when you're running for office, you got to get money anywhere.
So
you can, okay?
Obama's not in bed with big business. Okay.
There's much more on the Republican end. I mean, you can try and put that jab in there, but it's clear whose interest in mind. And profits are much more important to the Republican Party than people.
I like it when you say clear.
People are much more.
I like it when Barack Obama says, "Let me be clear."
It's good. I wish he didn't have to say it so much because people out there are trying to skew his words so much. That he's got to make it clear. You know what I mean?
Poor Braun.
But in any case, I guess we got a little more. We got a little time. We'll have to bring it into local.
Local news got local news going on here.
I don't even know where you started with that, but I mean, man, you wanted to really bring up some wild
I love it.
stuff,
I love
man.
when we get fiery. I have to prove you incorrect.
You get fiery, I get factual. That's how we do it.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Yeah,
So locally,
okay. The merger issue.
There's a merger going on.
Between Georgia Health and Science University, formerly known as MCG, and ASU, Augusta State University. It's pretty much a done deal, but they are in incremental talks to merge the two universities.
Right. So you got these two entities, part
Separate
of the Georgia.
entities.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Right.
Two separate entities. Part of the Georgia Regents, which is the entity that oversees the educational, the higher education entities that are state. What's the word? State. Not just state funded, because a lot of them are state funded. But anyway, they're all under that group now, and they want to basically consolidate the two into one. And it looks like ASU will be managed by GHSU.
Right.
And
the thought is
to,
that,
some
from my
degree.
understanding, they're looking at everything. We know the main reasons to save money. Thought to be decreased tuition fees. But there's a lot of questions.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, I've actually heard, you've maybe, I don't know where you heard the decreased tuition. I've heard either that they don't want to affect tuition, but tuition rises every year, as we know.
Right.
So, it's going to rise. It's just a matter of, is it going to rise this much or this much?
You got to think of also potential layoff.
Right, absolutely. Along with the consolidation, you can
The
kind of see some downsizing of
faculty to
staff.
student, the faculty to student ratio, the courses of study that's going to be offered, because now you're going to have a GHSU being a medical school combined with
liberal arts.
a liberal arts school.
Yeah.
So what courses of study is going to be offered, graduation rates. Is it going to attract people to come to or whatever the new name of this university is going to be? Is it still going to attract people?
There's actually a question of, with the name, there's a question of people who have or will be receiving degrees from ASU now. What's the name of the school going to be on there? Or, or is the name of, is it going to be a foregone, Augusta College? How many degrees did you see Augusta College on now?
Augusta
It's
College,
University.
that'd be going retro.
Way back, yeah. and now, when you applied and you wanted to get this ASU degree, what is it going to turn into now? And it's not nearly as important, obviously, as the amount of jobs that could be lost from this,
right.
Or the cost of tuition. But it's something to think about. And also, I'm reminded of last year when the state was, discussing budget cuts, and there were a lot of people that were taking classes or courses or majors that were going to have to be cut, or we're looking at
Right.
being on the chopping block.
GHSU is known for having some administration difficulties too. You look at the budget of Augusta State University, then you look at the budget of GHSU. GHU, of course, has a larger budget than ASU.
Also has much larger debt, which is something you got to think about when you're
Something
talking
you have
about.
to think about,
We're talking
too.
about schools, but in the business world, when a
administrative
when a
world.
large business has a
Right.
lot of debt, sometimes they'll absorb a smaller business, and then that small business takes on the debt and is destroyed. And
Right. And
it's,
Augusta State has been relatively.
We hope that's not the case.
I don't want to say
what's gonna
Augusta
happen
State is
now.
relatively debt-free, but Augusta State has managed its costs effectively.
And it can only take so much debt anyway.
Right. So now with this proposed merger, the president of GHSU, what's his name again?
Dr. Z's?
All right. What is the mindset that he's going to have when it comes to?
I'm not really
ASU?
impressed with this Dr. Z's character so
Right.
far. I mean,
Well, he's a businessman. He comes from
Yeah.
UCLA, a very prestigious school, and he's coming, and this is seen as something to, that he wants to put on his resume or whatnot. But
Sure.
His mindset is very crucial. It's very important because people's education, people's jobs are at stake here.
Right. Well, it doesn't seem like we're all kind of waiting because they're not really giving much input, giving much consideration.
It's supposed to be in effect the fall of 2013.
It's just this is what's happening. Get ready for it. But and I'm a current student there now, so I'm not sure what my plan will be, but I'll just have to keep watching, and we'll let you guys know what we hear as it comes.
Something else going on in the community. By the way, we're going to touch up on this a little bit, but Joey will talk more about it next week. I will be absent next week. I'll be out of town, but we have MLK coming up. And Joey, I think me and you are a prime example of how effective MLK's dream was.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You're a black Republican, so I'm honestly not too sure about that. That's a conversation I'm sure we would love to get into, because this guy always likes to point out, well, his father and grandfather were Republican, yeah, and then they switched, but because
but the thing
sense.
is, MLK's was talking about unity.
Yeah, sure.
Coming together.
Justice.
And just people, it doesn't matter what your race is, your ethnic group, or whatever, just coming together for the common good. And I think me and you are a perfect example.
Sure. Well, I hope everyone sensed the humor. I was trying to be humorous.
Yeah, I know.
Because you are definitely an example in that you're politically aware, you're active, you're out there trying to do something. You have business that you tend to, and as far as I can see, you try to do it responsibly and respectfully. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would hope that I can be half of the expectation of a model or someone who models Martin Luther King Jr. because I've read up on him. I got a scholarship for doing a speech on him, and his memory is keen to me because of my church, actually, the Unitarian Universalist Church. He spoke at one of our WARE lectures, which is one of our big national lectures that we hold, and he attended and he spoke about the work that he's done with, in conjunction with our church. And actually, two members of the congregation passed. Reverend Reeb was a white minister, and he went down to Selma, answered the call to Selma, and was killed by the KKK after leaving a black-run restaurant, and supporting the cause down there. And then there was Viola Liuzzo, who also a white woman from the Midwest, went down, answered the call to Selma, and was driving a black man in the car, and the KKK pulled up beside her and shot her dead. And there's a lot of interesting history there. There was actually a CIA informant in the car. I'm sorry, FBI informant in the car, and there was at the time who couldn't say anything, but witnessed her death, and they were reporting on the KKK. It's an incredible time that Martin Luther King Jr. lived in, that he stood up, right. And that he led, and that we owe every bit of gratitude, right. So that you and I could have this show
this
here,
opportunity,
that you and I could have attended the same high school,
right.
That opportunities that were given to us. And
we're also going to be, Joey's also going to be on my radio program, along with some other people in the community. We're going to have an MLK forum, Sunday, January the 15th. On WNR 1380, we'll have more details about that. But
before we close, I just want to encourage people. There's the parade going on this Saturday, the 14th. There's this Thursday at 7 o'clock at Reed Memorial, which is on Walton Way and Johns Road up on the hill. It's going to be a service led by the Reverend of the Ezekiel Baptist Church in Atlanta, where
Ebenezer
Baptist Church in Atlanta, Martin Luther King's home church, and who will be speaking. That should be fantastic. There's the parade also, and then on Martin Luther King Day, on that Monday, think about some service maybe that you could get into. It's supposed to be a National Day of Service. Get out there, help somebody in need.
All right. And that concludes today's Points of Interest show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 10:30 p.m., Comcast Channel 4. Y'all have a great evening.